This is Country Music News International, and my name's Nigel Sharpe. And this evening, well, it's evening for me, um, I am going way over to the west coast of the USA. So I think we're in Los Angeles, is that right?
That's right.
Yes. And
Yep, yep.
I am speaking to, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, Pi Jacobs.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
Traveling is my favorite thing besides music, so to do both together is everything I want in life. So,
Now, I've been listening to some of your music, and it's been an interesting trip so far. As a musician myself, I think you tend to listen to things differently when
mhm.
when you sing and when you play yourself.
Yeah.
And a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of interviewing Rodney Crowell, and
Oh, my.
I've always really liked listening to his stuff because it takes you to places where you don't expect to go. And that's exactly the sort of situation that I found myself in listening to your music. For a start, you can't pigeonhole it. There are a lot of influences in your music and different styles, which is just something I
Hmm.
like a lot. But the
Okay.
thing that you definitely have in common with Rodney Crowell is that you're sitting listening to a piece of music and you expect a kind of chord sequence to happen, but it doesn't. It goes somewhere where you don't expect it to go. And
Hmm.
I really like that because it just kind of makes you sit up and makes you pay attention to what's going
Hmm.
on. So
Hmm.
in a way, it's quite demanding listening to your music, but I mean that in a very positive way.
Hmm.
So when you're writing material, I mean, do you
Hmm.
have a cunning plan? You say, now they're going to expect me to play a G chord here, but I'm not.
No, I don't know if my brain just works this way, but I I will often hear what is the not usual chord change, and it just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So, and I've noticed that because when I do co-writes, I've written a bunch for the last album with this wonderful guy Ted Russell Camp, who you might be aware of. He's a singer songwriter and a bass player for Shooter Jennings and a lot of
Okay.
people, but he is one of those guys that had a publishing deal in Nashville, and so he knows all the things, the standard things that people do in a Nashville songwriting kind of situation. And he was, when I write with him, he's always like, "Why did you do that?" And I'm like, "Well, that's what I heard." So um, I guess thank you. Um, it's um, it's just what I'm hearing, I guess. And every song starts out different. Some will start with
Yeah.
a topic or a lyric or a melody. Some will start with a rhythm, some with a chord change. It's always a little different. Yes.
Yeah, so coming back to your music going in ways that perhaps people don't always expect in terms of musical typical musical sequences. What kind of music were you listening to when you were kind of developing as a person and as a musician?
My parents are separated, but they were hippies. They met in the Haight-Ashbury. I was
Okay,
born in the Haight-Ashbury. So they liked a lot of that, hippie music. And we were Californians. So when people talk about country music in particular, my first exposure to that would be what we call, California country, which is really like, not really country. It's more like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Linda
there you go.
Ronstadt and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So I had a lot of that. My mother also really loves classical music, so we had a lot of classical around. And she loves the blues, and she's not a musician, but a pretty avid music fan. And so we had a lot of those things playing all the time. And it was a kind of crazy eclectic upbringing. I mean, I lived in a commune. I lived in 17 houses before I was 7 years old. There were always people and artists and music and, you know, just kind of a bohemian type of lifestyle. So all of that, I think all those things come out in my music. And then when I got older, I started to study jazz a little bit. I don't really feel like I have a lot of jazz influence, but sometimes things just come out. I have a lot of harmony in my music,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it comes from choir. And I mean, I was always in choir, and it was funny because I was very, 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 very shy, and it seems like my whole life people were always like, I was so shy I was going to quit choir, or I wasn't going to take choir. And then I remember my high school counselor, I wanted to take typing. God knows why.
Wow.
And she said, I know. She said, I'll give you typing if you take choir. Because I had this sort of reputation that had preceded me, and I was always being asked to sing solos and stuff, which was, when I was younger, terrifying for me. And just kind of, like I said, I was very shy. But I'm glad all those people sort of kept forcing me to do it because, look how my life turned out.
Yeah.
So what's happened for me is I was doing roots music, but I was coming more from a rock perspective. And I signed in 2016 to a label out in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I mean, when I signed with Traviana, they're in the middle of that. They're right there where the land of bluegrass is. And I remember going and talking to them and, like, who should I be listening to? Because I heard a little bit of bluegrass growing up, but I really didn't know. And for me, I mean, for my music, I've sort of taken the instruments tonally, but put them more into like a bluesy folk rock kind of vibe. I don't play like, very fast, shreddy bluegrass kinds of things in my music, but tones are really important to me. And the fact that we really, because almost all the instruments are fretless, we really have to listen to each other when I play with my guys. And it's the same vibe I get with the singing, is that there's a magic when it's in tune. And like I play a lot with these guys, the Hall twins. One plays dobro and one plays upright, and then I'll play acoustic, and we have the stomp box. We tour that way a lot, and we all sing. But there's a magic about that, when it's in tune and everything's warm and fuzzy, that you don't always get with your typical electric instruments,
No. Your material is sort of available via Bandcamp, and that's something actually I don't know a lot about. Can you tell me something about Bandcamp? How does that work for you?
So Bandcamp, I'm sort of new to it, actually. It's something that I got into with my new label, which I just have had for the last year.
Right.
And they really like Bandcamp. And one of the great things about it is it's very transparent. You upload your things, a customer listens and buys something. They take a very percentage of it, and then you send it to them. As opposed to like CD Baby, where you used to send in a bunch of discs and they would send it back, or just streaming now. And Bandcamp is very much about getting the artist paid. They really encourage you, even if you're going to stream, to pay for the streams that you are listening to. So yeah, and I like that, I can put the other things that I have, t-shirts and posters and stuff like that, up there too. It's very easy to use. So the last release was called Live from Memphis.
Ah, okay.
It was recorded with the band live at Diddy TV. I don't know if you have Diddy TV in Europe, but it's sort of like the MTV of Americana and country music over here. And they do concerts, and they'll film, and it's like a concert special. So we did that, and they were kind enough to say, do you want this audio? You can just have it. And we said, yes, we do, because it was beautifully recorded and just kind of a magic night. So we put that out just in August last year, on my new label. And then before that was Two Truths and a Lie.
So I'd like to say thank you very much indeed for taking the time to join us. Hi, I wish you all the very best for 2022.
Yeah, it's a pleasure speaking with you too. And I do hope that I will be able to get back to Germany next year, maybe.
You take
All
care of
right.
yourself and
Okay, take
bye.
care.